What is up, everybody? Welcome back to yet another episode of the Onwards Forward Evolution podcast. Before we get started, I just want to remind you, head to our website, get you some Onwards gear, whether it be a t-shirt, a pillow, some beautiful high-quality artworks, mugs, hats, beanies, sweaters, sweatshirts, you name it, it's there for you. And it's more than just objects and material things that we don't need. Onwards, it's all about the vibration it gives off. Every time you wear a t-shirt or see a poster or put your head on this comfortable pillow, you will always be reminded to always be moving forward, always be striving to improve, to learn, to grow, to chase that ultimate version of yourself. That's what Onwards is all about. We are moving forward together. So make sure you head to our site, get you some merch, support the movement, support the channel, and become part of the Onwards Collective. And with that, let's get into the podcast.
You clap thing, so you're good. Clap forward, going those clapping ass. little Jay-Z.
Yeah.
All right.
Ryan, welcome, brother. Thanks for being here, man.
Absolutely, dude.
We've been trying to do this for a while.
It's far overdue.
Yeah, it is.
But actually, it's the perfect time.
Exactly.
That's all.
Exactly. Because, dude, like the conversations that you and I have had over the past few months, I would say, because we've definitely gotten closer during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we could have recorded them, like especially when we were in Florida with Yam and like everybody. Like those conversations are so valuable and so thought provoking, and just challenge the whole idea of like beliefs and consciousness and all that. So I'm glad to have you here tonight, man.
Yeah, man. Well, these last COVID has been a journey for all of us.
Yeah.
And opening my my mind to some new ideas has let me connect a lot of dots.
Yeah.
In being present.
Mm-hmm. Because outside of most people, you've let COVID, you've used it as almost like fuel to say, I'm going to take this opportunity and I'm actually going to improve myself and I'm going to learn something new. I'm going to develop these new habits and lifestyle changes. So talk a little bit about that, like when COVID hit, really kind of how everything came to be to where you're sitting here today in this new lifestyle.
Yeah, well, I remember when COVID happened, the beginning, Austin and I were sitting having a conversation, and I said, this is going to be the divide between people who sit in the corner all balled up and cry, oh, COVID is my life, I can't do nothing.
Yeah.
Which I think we saw that in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could find a way to make yourself better and use it for time. And I think, from observation, I talk to a lot of people because of what I do and not, but
Mm-hmm.
I can tell that shift. People were balled up in the corner, not
Yeah.
everyone. And then some people decided to do it. I just decided to do that right away because of circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, it's amazing how I can catch a thought now that normally would just send you down a path of having a bad day.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I have bad days anymore.
Mm-mm.
Because, I don't live in one thought. It's because of meditation, yoga, having a good routine and establishing myself and spending a lot of time by myself during COVID. What would be a good example? My check engine light's on right now.
Yeah.
And I forgot about it. And so this is a good bad thing. I forgot because when I got my car last, I was like, oh, the check engine. And you feel the anger show up.
Yeah. The frustration. Now I got to deal with this. Oh, man.
Yeah, but that's a thought. And I'm like, oh, I don't have to sit here and stay in that thought. I just got to get it fixed.
Yeah.
But I need to make a note to remember to do it because I literally got out the car and that's it. I let it go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that you always, at least for myself personally, maybe you would hold on to that a little bit more. And so I hope this is answering your question on that. But it was COVID just allowed me to establish a set of habits, like you said, that put me in a place to succeed mentally.
Yeah.
And you got your mind right. What falls in place, you get your body right, then the two are connected, and man, it's an unstoppable thing.
Seriously. Yeah, so you got really into meditation, you got really into yoga.
Mm-hmm.
What was there some moment or thing that triggered that? Because you being friends with me, Austin, and Riley being really into yoga Austin and Riley being really into yoga the last few months, me being on the spiritual path, like what was there one kind of definitive moment where you were like, I'm going to start meditating and doing yoga? Or was it just something you were like, oh, I'm kind of bored, there's nothing really to do, I'm kind of trapped in my apartment, let me just kind of go down this rabbit hole?
Well, no, I think at the start of COVID, I also, got out of a relationship.
That's right.
So that time of being alone and not being used to it, I felt some anxieties come on.
Yeah.
You could just tell, and it's not even just being alone, right? And having those thoughts and like feeling bad days and realizing that, okay, well, I can't stay in this state of mind forever. I had already dabbled in meditation, but it wasn't like a daily routine practice. I already had Sam Harris's app, and but wasn't using it daily. And then I noticed that would help. And then I noticed that while I was doing yoga, I didn't think about anything.
Yeah.
And so I just kept doing yoga 2-3 times a day to stay in a state of being present.
Right.
And
you weren't thinking about anything except here now. Just keep breathing.
Just keep breathing. Yeah. Oh, what's that stretch feel like? Okay.
Yeah.
Just noticing what's happening to my body because you have to.
Yeah.
You know, you go up in a tree pose and you start thinking, get a little wobbly, you're gonna fall over.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you have to be present with that, and that those balancing things. You know, the one thing that the one yoga instructor says that all the time is be with the wobbles.
Yes.
And it literally, if you're standing there and if you lose track of that wobble for a second, well, that's when you fall over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that pulled me, had to make me be present, which allowed me to learn to let go and not be trapped in some of those other thoughts. And then once I felt that it was working, it was like,
yeah,
how could you not keep doing this?
Right. You like discovered, oh shit. It was almost like you discovered an escape from those negative thought patterns that you kind of found yourself in.
Yeah, I mean, new environment, COVID. I was by myself.
Right.
There's nothing to do. Change and work for. I mean, I was like, well, got to start some healthy habits here. So between reading a couple books, I know I've already talked about it on Riley Austin's podcast, but the 4 Agreements, that was a big read.
Yeah.
I read that book in a day.
Yeah, that's right.
At the start of COVID.
If you guys are listening, or watching, first off, thanks for being here, but also definitely check out the 4 Agreements. It's one of the most foundational books for anyone on like a spiritual journey or just anyone who's looking to dive deeper into more of themselves.
Well, you know, I wouldn't even put it in a box of spiritual because that might deter some people.
Sure.
And you don't have to be spiritual. You don't have to believe. I don't care what you believe in.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's a thought it's a way of thinking and not being stuck in thought. Like, what is stress? Stress is being lost in thought. And so when you can stop being lost in thought, you're not stressed anymore.
Yeah.
And there's so many examples of that. Because what do you stress about? Let's go back to the check engine light thing. I'm stressed on my check engine lights on. I'm thinking, oh, man, I got to do this. And that you just go down that rabbit hole. Oh, man, well, what's that going to cost? Now you're stressing about money. If it was, like, maybe money wasn't even on your mind, but now you're thinking about it. And maybe you didn't, so you just go down this hole. Boom, boom, boom. But if you can just be present and notice that is a sense of frustration and stress, you can. It's not to ignore it, to let go of it, but it's to recognize what it is and that it doesn't have to define you. The quote that I just posted this the other night, you can't become happy, you can only be happy.
Yeah. That was great. Use your little meditation thought.
I need to start doing those every night. I think people will like those. I have some more of those.
Definitely.
And it's not to say that anyone's living wrong, but if, like, I have a friend called me the other night and telling me all this stuff that, how he can't formulate his words at work and just all this craziness.
Sure. Kind of bitching about stuff.
But it's like, man, something's wrong.
Right.
And it's like
in that kind of victim mindset, letting his thoughts almost be controlling him in a way, if for lack of a better term. Like his thoughts are kind of driving the boat.
They 100%, and he didn't even know it.
Right.
And one thing that and this is my buddy, he's always one that's like, oh, I got to get to the if the goal was to buy a house, he got the house and now he's not happy because he wants the next thing.
Right.
And I heard Sam Harris say this the other day. I thought it was really good. It talked about like in terms of being present and not becoming, being happy, not becoming happy. If you would say, I'm going to be happy once I have such thing. And his example was the Oscars. Let's say you won the Oscars. Okay. You're like, I'm just going to be happy when I win the Oscars. I'm just going to be happy.
Yeah.
Well, the moment you accept that award, you are now thinking about, did I give the right speech? You're now living in the past.
Oh, no.
You're thinking about your speech. You're thinking about, well, what do I got to do next? You're living in the future. You're never even present.
Right.
You're always somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that causes stress.
Yeah, it does.
Because you're not there. But you're always thinking, well, what's the next thing? You just won one of the biggest things ever, and it's not good enough.
Yeah.
because you're thinking, well, what did I say the right thing?
Yeah.
Did it? And then all these anxieties come up, right? So it's just a matter of, oh, I don't need anything to be happy.
Yeah.
I am happy.
Just be it.
Just be it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's powerful stuff, man. And I know it for a lot of people, it's like way easier said than done, but that's why it's important.
He said that. My friend said that to me. And I said, yeah, you're right. That's why you got to practice.
Yeah.
It's a practice.
It's a practice. Just like
you
yoga.
don't get good at anything.
Just like meditation, you don't get good at anything
overnight.
You're always going to suck in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, some people are naturally better at other things.
Sure.
But there's practice. Everyone, look at any great athlete, anybody, that you got to practice.
You have to.
And if you need to work out your body to look good, why do you not need to practice the right mindset to think well?
Right.
If we're having 90% of the same thoughts every day.
Yep.
Because as I say think, naturally daily you go through the same habits, you see the same things, you're not much new information or new thoughts are happening.
Right.
And so if every day you're in the habit of stressing about something at a particular point in day, and then that leads on to the string of thoughts for the day, that's just a disaster.
It becomes part of your personality. This is something that Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about, where we have tens of thousands, I forget how many tens of thousands of thoughts a day. And for most people, those are the same thoughts we're having every day. So if we're having these same thoughts and connecting the same emotions to these thoughts every day, that becomes part of our personality. And then people are like, this is just who I am. This is just part of,
and that's ego.
And that it is ego. And it's also just, I like what he says. He says, you change your personality, and then you can ultimately change your personal reality. Because the particular video series I was watching on the streaming service Gaia, which is like a spiritual Netflix, they have all these great little documentaries, and this one's called Rewired. It talks about rewiring your brain, and I think that's very interesting, where it's like if you can't expect anything in your life and in your outside to change unless you sit down and do the work and kind of go within. But that's really hard for a lot of people, because when they do sit with themselves, a lot of shit starts coming up that they just don't want to think about, they don't want to deal with, and that's ego. We've said that before. So like,
but I empower everyone to say they can do it.
Absolutely,
everyone can do it.
Yeah,
it's to say that you can't is a thought.
And you
don't have to be your thought.
Don't have to attach to that.
Yeah.
You don't have to. Because all the time, I was talking to Yam yesterday, where she sent me a little, I guess, a meme on Instagram, and it was like, it was like a quote. I be catching my thought in the middle of negative thought patterns all the time. Like, bitch, what are you doing? Stop thinking so crazy. And then like you get back to it. It's like an empowering thing. And I said, that's so true, because one of the beautiful things that does come from meditation and switching to the observer of your thoughts instead of attaching to them is when negative thoughts do come up, you're almost able to be like, wait a minute, hold on. Like you said, I love the analogy you have, where thoughts are just like cars speeding down the highway. If you think of something negative, you're getting in that car. Just get out of the car.
If it's not useful, because sometimes your human nature gave us the ability to have negative thoughts for a reason, or have stress.
Because we want to survive.
In times it's useful, right? Some people work better with a little bit of stress.
Sure.
They need that tightness, and then they can achieve. So, it's not to say that you should ignore stress.
Right.
It's just being able to label it so you know it when it's happening, so that way you can respond instead of react.
Yes. Because reactions can blow up in your face.
Yeah.
A good example is, if someone says something to you at work, or your family member says something that would, normally trigger you. That's, in my own journey, through practices like meditation and mindfulness, someone in my family would say something that would trigger me, and then I'd attach to that thought and I'd blow up back, and then it just comes around and bites you in the ass. When instead you can see that, observe yourself getting triggered. You're starting to, how does Duncan Trussell put it? He's like, you're starting to wind up, you're starting to getting ready, but then you're just like, you know what? This isn't my energy. I'm not going to attach myself to this. And then you kind of almost, you save yourself and everybody else around you from any kind of storm that follows you kind of blowing up based off being triggered and all that. It's powerful stuff, man. It really is.
Yeah, and I don't, we don't, not to like be serious, but it is on a fun light too, because then when you have moments of fun, you can recognize, you have to play both sides. Like if you just did something that was extraordinary, I recently got into skydiving.
Yes, you did.
Of course, I want to talk about that.
Yes.
But that adrenaline feel at the end, I'm able to identify that as the fun that I had, right?
Sure.
When the experience is over, and then label, okay, that's what fun feel. That is fun. That is happy. That is happy. That's not stress, right? But I'm always. I'm saying that wrong because you always have to be happy, not to say that you do something to become happy.
Sure.
But I'm saying the sense of a thrill, excitement,
Yeah.
Elevated senses. To have both sides of that, when you're in the other one, you can say, well, I can let go of that, and I can embrace those feelings and bring back from a previous experience.
Okay.
Do you get where I'm going with this?
Yeah. It's almost like you keep a record of like, this is what this is. You kind of store it in the back, and then you're able to like use it as like almost like a reference.
Yeah, just to know, like, as certain things throughout your life experience, sadness, happiness, anger, stress, nervousness, anxiety, when you're able to identify, well, what are those? What happens when I get anxiety?
Right.
Well, my heart gets a little elevated. Maybe my armpits get a little sweaty. Something.
Yeah.
I don't know. What.
Yeah.
Everyone's a little different. But now you can identify it, and when you know it's there, you almost kind of know what the solution is, if you need to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Or keep it.
What's the solution that you found?
Identifying it, being present.
Yeah. Always coming back to the present moment.
Because anytime any of that's going on, it's because you're not present.
Exactly.
Yeah. But on the skydiving thing with the meditation, dude, sitting in an airplane, let me just walk you through this for a second.
Yeah, let's go into skydiving now.
You get in that plane. First off, I like get in the zone like 20 minutes before I get in the plane. Like no phone, there's nothing going on. I'm thinking about the skydive, and I'm feeling all the fear. I actually feel fear show up. Everyone asks, "Aren't you scared?" Hell yeah.
Fuck yeah, absolutely. You're about
Every
to
time.
jump out of a plane.
Every time.
The
moment I'm not scared, then I'm scared.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So, but I this goes where people with anything in life where fear is holding you back of doing something, being able doing this extreme sport, I'm able to feel fear and then get past it and know that on the other side of fear, there's this great experience.
Yes.
Because the minute you go out the door of the plane, you're not scared anymore.
No.
It's crazy.
Because you're fully present.
You're so present.
There's no time to be scared.
There's not even a second to think about anything but the present.
Right.
It's wild. But so in the plane, I feel the nerves come up, but because of meditation, instead of sitting there thinking like, oh man, maybe like if the thought shows up in my head, like I could just ride the plane down. I can say that was just a thought, dude. You're fine.
Yeah.
You don't need to be stuck in that because that's not going to help you when you go out the door.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So 20 minutes before I'm in the zone. Locked in, you're doing gear checks and everything. That's great, dude. Everyone in this community is amazing. Yeah. That's everyone. It's like open arm. I don't know. I guess it's like a bond because you're jumping out of planes together. It's like a weird. Yeah,
man. You're risking your life on a constant basis, and
together.
You're together, and there's there's a brotherhood there.
When you make eye contact with somebody and you're falling through the sky with them, it's like you're immediately like.
Yeah.
If you never spoke a word to each other, you're friends.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember where I was going. Oh, so feeling all those emotions coming up. Look, we're in that plane. The door opens, and the minute you go out, everyone's like, "Well, what's it feel like?" Just for anyone who doesn't never been, I'd say if you could drive down the highway at 100 miles an hour and stick your arm out, that's what it feels like.
Yeah, but it's your whole body.
And there's because you're in a moving airplane, you never have the sensation of a free fall.
Right. That feeling you get on a roller coaster where like your stomach feels like it's falling out of your
Yeah, you
butt.
don't really get that because you get blasted. If the plane's going 60, 70 miles an hour, the minute you're out the door, you're getting hit with that wind, and it's like riding a slide down until you're not moving, and then you're just in a 120 mile an hour free fall.
Right. Yeah, you're not falling straight out. You're like, I like the terminology of a slide.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. So like to do a hot air balloon jump or a helicopter jump, you actually would have that sensation of a free fall because you're not moving.
Okay.
So I can't wait to do that. I have to get 50 jumps in to do that.
That's crazy, man. And the more and more I talk to you about skydiving, the more and more I want to do it. Just because I want to experience that feeling, almost like that whole whirlwind of emotions of feeling the fear before it, kind of getting yourself psyched up, like we're here, we're doing it. And then you're on the plane and you're up there and you're like, all right, well, there's no backing down. It's almost like, because I heard Will Smith talking about this very same thing of skydiving, and the whole night before he wasn't sleeping and he was so afraid and all this stuff. And as soon as you jump, it's like pure bliss, pure fully in the present moment. You're not thinking about anything else. It's one of the most beautiful, exhilarating feelings ever. And then it's like you said, it's like the best things in life are right on the other side of that fear.
It's so true, man. I mean, that's a fear for anything. Starting a business, saying hi to some new girl, whatever it is, right? There's always going to be fear, and you on the other side of it, most of the time, it's good. It's only good things.
Fear is a lie.
Yeah.
If you're
well, I mean,
sometimes.
Yeah.
For the most part, unless it's like a life-threatening situation, fear is just your ego it's just being lazy.
Yeah, but fear of what for those like never getting air. Do you know how beautiful the world is from 13,000 feet?
I can't even imagine.
Especially at like sunset.
Right. I mean, I don't know. I've like been, if you look out the window of a plane, but it's completely different because you have full 360 degree
When you're
view.
hanging outside of the airplane and you're looking around, dude, it's a different experience.
Yeah.
Like you're on top of the world, literally.
Yeah, literally. That's so crazy. All right, well, as soon as it gets warm out, I'm doing it. Or maybe when we're in Florida. Maybe when we're in Florida, we can do it.
You should do
that'd
it.
That'd be perfect.
You at least got to do a tandem and see what the experience is about. And that's what everyone. I've talked to enough people who skydive on the reg now to know that not everyone thought that they were going to get into it.
Right.
Like some people thought like no way, and then they do their tandem and they're like, oh, I need more of that.
Mm-hmm.
I want that.
Yeah, because what else is out there that gives you that feeling? Probably nothing. I don't think so. Even like drugs don't give you that. Psychedelics don't give you that. It's like its own niche thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe roller coasters. But even that, it's totally different.
It's just I like it. I like feeling all those emotions.
Totally.
I think they're important because then because of my meditation now and being able to be present and identify thought and try not to get lost in it. I'm not perfect. It happens, even in this conversation. But it's like when I feel anxiety through the day, I can almost match it. Well, this feels exactly how it felt in the airplane.
Right.
When I got over it in the airplane.
Yeah. Wow, that's powerful. Yeah, so it's almost like doing really difficult things that are taxing on your mind and your emotions are actually really good for you and making your mental stronger.
I think it's like going to the gym for your brain.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you understand at the end of it, like, you're going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. You're going to be back to where you were.
Right. Yeah. It's cool stuff, man.
It is.
I look, some people think I'm crazy, but you should do it at least once.
My friend Jess is in Hawaii right now for 2 months, and she finally did her first skydiving thing. I wanna talk to her and ask her how that went.
I haven't met anyone who's done it that's like, no, that was the worst experience of my life.
I'm sure there's people.
I'm sure things that happen, but there's always that one. Okay,
always there has to be.
But of the sample size that I got, it's pretty big.
Yeah,
because now everyone that because they know, I did tandem once. And what'd you think? Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. But it can't even be remotely close to doing it by yourself, jumping out by yourself.
That's different.
Completely different.
Mm-hmm. But not the same. Because I've talked to some people about this, and almost why you become this is like, I guess this would not fully being aware or present, but the high that you get from that first jump, because it's so foreign.
Sure.
It's really hard to mimic that. Even by yourself.
I can see that.
Now, you kind of get it a little bit the first time you're not attached to anybody.
Yeah.
And you feel what it's like to move around in the sky without anyone. But it's still not so... It's so disorienting at first.
Yeah.
The first time that you almost can't mimic it again. And that's why people get into it. Because they're like chasing
that dragon.
They're chasing the high. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful, man. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Skydiving and spirituality.
COVID is it can bring great things. I mean, I had COVID.
You did. Yeah, let's talk about that because this is the first time I've seen you since, because you were down for the count for what, like 2 weeks?
Yeah, and then when you say down for the count, trust me, I was luckier. You talk about all this stuff with the mental thing. COVID messed me up mentally more than anything.
Oh, yeah, I remember you talking about that.
Threw me off my rocker because the main thing I lost was taste and smell, and I was a little achy in the first week.
Yeah.
Like 2 or 3 days. And it was like my upper back was just sore. It was weird. I don't know if that was because I didn't have any breathing issues, wasn't congested. Just I felt like I had a cold without the congestion.
Okay.
It's very weird to describe. But I noticed that I was not in my normal mindset.
Okay.
A couple days after knowing that I had it.
Yeah.
I did some research to find out that your nose, the sense of smell, is attached to a part of your nervous system or whatever that regulates emotions.
Totally. Yeah.
And the way I can say my example of that is, it's almost like when we say being present, being grounded, having that sense of smell kind of puts you in a room. Like an easy example is, imagine being in the shower, washing your body, but you don't smell soap.
Yeah, that's weird.
A piece of you doesn't know that you're in the shower when you're used to having the smell.
Right.
And it just throws you off a little.
I can see that, because then you're almost like subconsciously like, I'm not clean. I'm probably still dirty because I don't smell clean.
Not even that you're thinking that, but like if you were to close your eyes, you just feel water. I don't know. It's just sense of smell. When you walk into your home, it has a smell.
Definitely.
It tells you you're home.
Yeah.
Sense of smell is we know is one of the main one of the best triggers of memories.
Yep.
So you lose that, and now all that's gone.
Interesting.
And it messed with me emotionally. It brought on some anxiety and slight depression. And people don't they think, oh man, you had depression. That's kind of weird to say. It's not weird to say. Having anxiety or depression is no different than saying you have a cold.
Right. We all have it. We all go through it, whether or not it's.
But I was able to recognize it and just say,
Yes,
I'm having this experience right now.
Yeah.
Something's messed up. We're still, we talk about our minds, it's still just a chemical process going on in there. And so if something's out of your electrical signals are out of whack and some things aren't firing right, it's going to be kind of hard, you know.
Yeah.
But I was able to identify it instead of freaking out. Then I was just able to accept, well, maybe you need to just accept the fact that you're sick and stop trying to get the stuff done, because it's bringing on stress.
Sure.
That it's harder to manage right now because your body's not functioning properly.
Yeah.
So my COVID has having it changed my perspective about it a little bit.
Right. Because for months and months and months, we were like, oh, yeah, COVID.
Didn't know anybody that really had it.
Neither did I.
In that week that I got it, not because I was in contact with people, but a large number of people that I knew in my network got it. And to where one of my friends, mid-40s, skydiver, it doesn't have really major health complications that I know of other than being mid-40s.
Sure.
He was on a ventilator. They had him in a coma.
Right. How's he doing now? Because
he's just got home yesterday.
Okay, good.
Yeah, they had him they had him on the vent, whatever. He was out for a week. They had him sleeping for a week.
Wow.
So it's just wild. Like, my experience compared to that was nothing.
Yeah, seriously.
Nothing.
Holy shit.
And this guy tells me it felt like it was breathing through Jell-O.
Ooh.
That he felt 90 years old.
Ugh.
You know, so that's
scary, man.
Yeah, but most young people that there's only I think one girl that told me she was down and out. You know, but didn't have to go to hospital, but just more probably flu symptoms.
I had a friend very similar.
Yeah,
she was just trapped in a room for a week. Didn't feel great.
Yeah, but the losing taste and smell thing at Thanksgiving time, that's weird because I was out of quarantine now. Yeah. But that taste and smell thing, I've been reading, they say it could take a month or more to come back full, and mine's not back all the way yet.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, the best way I can describe it is that the volume is turned down
a little bit
on the sense of smell and taste.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm still in a thought loop over here, just thinking about how interesting it is the fact that your sense of smell, lack of it, can cause depression. And that makes a lot of sense because one of the last podcasts we were sitting here talking about color and how color and chromotherapy can affect your mood and your mental and all this. So that's very interesting that of course another sense, lack of, can kind of flavor your outlook on life.
Yeah, you don't appreciate your sense of smell until you don't have it.
Seriously, because every day I'm burning Palo Santo, I'm laying incense,
right.
I'm taking a shower, I'm rubbing the Dr. Bronner's lavender soap all over me.
You're doing all these things for smell.
You're eating, you're tasting stuff because we can't smell, you can't taste. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, it made me appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah.
Another thing to just bring you back and be grateful, just to have all your senses.
Yeah,
and that's like losing your smell. Of course, you can operate life compared to someone who's blind.
Right.
But not to say... Sight's obviously important, but to say that sense of smell, of course, it's hard to say that it's equal or less.
Right.
But it's equal. It's as important as all your senses together because it kind of makes your reality.
Yeah, totally. Like I'm sitting here right now and I can smell the foam on the microphone. And it just always brings me back. Like, we're here, we're sitting, we're having this chat, we're recording it, people are going to hear and get volume. So it's almost like the smell of this microphone foam is keeping me present right here.
Yeah. Well, I can't remember that one song. Oh, I wish I knew the title at the moment. But he talks about if he can make a candle of his childhood scents and or home, everyone has like that one. And the only other person that would appreciate that candle would be a sibling or someone who lived with you in that moment. And it's true because there's that, like, I can't tell you what the smell is, but I can think of a distinct smell from childhood that I know my sister would appreciate.
Yeah, 100%. I'm thinking right now, dude, like our buddy Austin used to live down the street from here, and I remember the smell of that house distinctly. And I'll get emotional if I will take a walk by the house and I'll smell that, but they don't live there anymore. And it's amazing how that can really take you back. Certain smells. Even Yam, like, people have a certain smell, right? Yam has a certain smell. And I remember not seeing her for several years, and then I was at the mall, I was working at North Face at the time, and some lady came in, and she smelled like that. And I hadn't smelled that smell in probably 4 or 5 years.
But immediately you knew where it came from.
And all of a sudden, it brought me back, and I wasn't, like, upset or emotional, but it, like, brought this very comforting emotion to me. Just smelling that smell that a complete stranger had of just walking by me. It just brought me back to all these times. It's very interesting.
What did we learn? Smell is underrated.
Seriously. Yeah, if you got
bring a little energy, the coffee's kicking in.
If you got nothing to be grateful for, be grateful for the fact that you could smell.
You got to.
You have to.
Yeah.
Wow.
The smell, man. Because I'm a big one. The first thing I do when I walk in my apartment, I'm a little bit of a weird. I take it like a, and if I can tell if there's like one thing going bad in the trash, you know.
Really? Whoa.
It's my nose used to be so good.
Yeah.
I used to say I have a sensitive snoz. You know, just dad jokes, just being weird, you know.
Right.
And so now, dude, I look at my trash. Not that my place is very clean,
Yes,
but
it is.
I can tell, like, dude, you're not taking the trash out as much.
Yeah.
Because you can't smell it.
Oh, wow. Right.
Right.
Oh, no. So then imagine, like, you can't smell, then you're walking around.
You don't even know.
You don't even know if you smell good, because that's a really important thing. You could be dressed in a fucking tuxedo, hair slicked back, fresh haircut, shiny shoes.
You come out smelling like Taco Bell, and people are looking at you funny.
Yeah.
Because I think B.O. smells like taco meat for some reason. I don't know why.
It definitely does. All right, we're good.
Yeah.
We're good. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
Who would have thought, man? Yeah. COVID teaching you about smell.
Yeah, man. That's the thing, man. 2020 has probably been the best year of my whole life in terms of me connecting more with the people I care about. You, Austin, Riley, reconnecting with Yam, coming back home, reconnecting with my family, and just, if anything, it's really helping us focus on what's important.
I know, and I hope that's the case for everyone else. I think it is, actually. I really do think it is, because people we're all doing the same thing. Yeah. And even if anyone was in the dumps, they eventually, for the most part, hope they had to get out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have a choice.
I'm optimistic for the world.
Me too, dude. Like, you can't. You have to be, especially during these times, man. This year has been so crazy and chaotic, but that's just the shift that people have been talking about for so long. Like, we're really shifting, and, you know, like Anthony Kiedis says, Red Hot Chili Peppers, he said, destruction leads to a very rough road, but it also breeds creation. So it's like all of this chaos and, air quotes, destruction, a lot of beautiful things are going to be built from that rubble. And that's something we're doing with this podcast. This podcast came out of that destruction. And
dude, I'm super excited about this podcast.
Tell me about that.
I'm super excited about this podcast. I just think it's all podcasts are interesting, but to listen to two people have a conversation in long form, as an observer, is interesting because we don't engage in conversations like this. This gives us the opportunity to do that. Yeah,
I mean, you and I, people like you and I, will always have conversations like this, whether we're recording or not. But it's important, man. It really is, because it's a very intimate way to communicate with somebody. You know, we're sitting here, we're looking into each other's eyes, we got each other's voices in our ears. There's no other distraction. Yeah, there's music playing on that TV, but I can't hear it. You can't hear it. We're fully here. We're fully locked in. And when you are in that vibration, you can really dive deep and get a lot out.
It's energetic, and it's
so energetic.
Especially, I mean, for me, I live alone, so anytime I get to chat with people, I love it, because I am more of an extroverted person.
Yeah, man. I hate the small talk conversations. You're in school. What are you studying at? No.
Yeah.
What sets your soul on fire? What gets you excited? What are your biggest fears? Like, that's the shit I want to know. And that's why I started this podcast, because I was having way too many deep conversations like that I wish I could have gone back and listened to.
Yeah, I think because you can learn from it.
100%.
From not in the moment and then others watching. You know, any conversation I feel like you can learn from. Because you can just watch where people are going and the way they say things and the thoughts that come up. It's interesting. Back to you, if you're only having 90% of thoughts a day, listen to someone else talk or reading a new book or whatever provokes new thoughts for you, and you don't know where that thought is going to lead.
Yeah.
See, that's one thing that I'm trying to find the balance. Now, I don't know shit about shit. I'm just going to be honest. I really don't. This whole thing is an experiment, and I'm just being the dummy, and I'm just relaying
100%.
my test results, okay?
Sure.
You know, that this whole become happy, I could all be bullshit. I don't even know.
Yeah.
But it's working so far.
Yeah.
Shit, I forgot where I was going with that. Oh. Nope, totally lost it. Right there, just losing a thought. Oh, but the stemming thoughts, not stemming, growing thoughts, okay? Like, say this conversation provokes a thought later.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the balance of being present, but then also having dedicated time to stay in a thought longer.
Sure. Okay.
To see where it goes. Like the creative process of thinking and being creative about your thought. Let's say we talk about maybe I want to, we're going to go down to Florida for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Well, us just doing that, could that thought and thinking about that process, you don't know where that could end up.
Right.
In terms of the journey of that thought. But if it comes out like, oh, I don't want to be in the thought anymore, I want to be present, well, now I just let that go and I never finished it.
Yeah.
But that's where I'm trying to figure out how much is going on, and I think a lot is happening in the subconscious. Well, on things and that's how they come up, like that random song earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't even begin to sing it again. It was so random that I was humming right before we started. I have no idea where that came from, but maybe some little tune back here pulled it out of my subconscious, and then there it was.
So in other words, it's almost like you're saying thoughts are just seeds, whether or not you water them.
Yeah.
You water it.
Well, I'm trying to figure out how much is going on with that thought in my subconscious.
Right.
Because if conscious is everything that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Sam Harris this morning when my meditation said that you think of consciousness as you think of water and waves.
Okay.
You can't have waves without water, and you can't have water without waves.
Yeah.
They're fluid together. And so is your consciousness and your experience. But if a thought isn't in that flow, and now it's in subconscious, I'm not aware, but it's still there, like old memories, right? You said you want to think about a hard drive.
Sure.
Well, when your computer doesn't have that file pulled up, it's still sitting there and it's not doing anything. But our brains don't work that way.
Right.
Just because it's not there, it could still be doing something in the background.
So is that the subconscious?
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know how much, like, if I'm not present with the thought and I toss it and it goes into the subconscious, right? Maybe. Where do they come from? Where do they go?
Right. Yeah. No fucking idea.
But let's say they go to subconscious. I could. Someone who knows more could be like, this guy's talking out his ass, and I could be.
Sam Harris, get back to us.
Yeah. This is the bro science.
Yeah. Bro science.
Something's going on in my mind that I don't know about.
Yeah.
That's what I'm really getting at.
Yeah.
And it's trying to at least be aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is a good segue. Because of that, then I'm paying attention more to the information and things that I watch and absorb.
Sure.
People,
your information diet, if you will.
Yes, because even though it might not be, I can say, oh, it doesn't affect me. I watch some scary movie. It's scary. I love scary movies. Well, then maybe I feel like sometimes there's like a little thing about people who like scary movies.
Right.
That are really into them.
People who are like super into horror movies.
Yeah. And they can say, oh, I just like that. But that starts to color your thoughts.
Totally. Your subconscious thoughts.
And that goes with negative news, right? If you're constantly absorbing negative news, you're going to produce negative thoughts and emotions. It's going to provide a negative experience.
100%. Couldn't agree more.
So I don't think a lot of people like that I did this, and I can see why. But I stopped watching the news months ago.
That's probably one of the best things you could have ever done for your mind.
I don't have a freaking clue what's going on in the world. I know what's going on in my circle. But,
Sure.
I live in Center City, Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I should have more of an idea what's going on. I will admit that.
Right.
But what I do is, and when people call, hey, how things are going on, I go look out my window, literally, and I go, everything looks fine.
Yeah.
If it's not happening outside my window and in my circle,
everything's good.
in this moment, for my own mental health, I said, it's not worth, I can't change the world in this moment. I need to make sure that my cup is filled and I'm doing everything I can do to take care of me. So maybe when I have the opportunity to make an influence in some direction, I'm in the best mindset for it.
Yeah, because the news, for sure, flavors all of that. It goes after your subconscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. Duncan Trussell said it best. He said, there's probably some phoneless fool out in nature somewhere next to a waterfall, completely unaware of how upset, angry, and frustrated he's supposed to be right now. And the whole idea with that is like, that's why I stopped watching the news. And I mean, I never really watched the news, but, you know, my dad used to watch it religiously.
Google News was my thing. I loved opening Google News, and I start slightly. I can't even say because I haven't really built the habit of checking the news again. But I never really paid attention to world news or politics because of just and I really just like reading about business news.
Sure.
But during COVID, it was hard to even get to the business news without getting bombarded with everything going on. Not to say that it's not relevant and it's not important, but for where I was in my life and what I needed, it wasn't helping me.
Yeah, definitely.
That's it. People say, well, you need to know what's going on. Why? Really tell me why.
Yeah.
Why do I need to know the numbers of COVID?
Right.
As long as I'm doing as long as I know what I'm supposed to do. Why do I really need to know that? Is it going to help me in any part of my life today, in this present moment?
Not in a positive way. If anything, it's going to freak you out and make you anxious and cause anxiety.
Yeah.
I felt that, dude. I don't watch the news, but when the election was happening, Tuesday and Wednesday, I had that shit on. I was watching, Louder with Crowder live stream, and they were doing all this, and I felt very short-tempered. I felt anxious. I felt frustrated, and I'm like, why am I feeling this way? I sat with myself, and I get into that meditative state, and I'm like, oh, because I've had the fucking news on, and it's been like subconsciously programming me and making me feel this type of way.
Subconscious thing, yeah.
That's what it does.
Information you're bringing in,
yeah.
Because I mean, if you're reading happy things all day long, you're gonna feel happy, and some say, well, it's okay to be sad and feel the anger, but it's what you do with it,
right?
And I'd rather just be super positive, so that way when someone runs into me and they're having a bad day, there's no way they can bring me down.
Never. If anything, you bring them up.
Right. You can't bring me down. Because back to the 4 Agreements book, one thing that I think is so important I've really learned during COVID not to take things personally.
Totally.
Can I tell you how powerful that is?
Tell me. Give me an example if you can.
I'm a single man.
Yeah.
And look, I'm busy. I know other people are busy. I know we got tons of people with all the dating apps going on. People's attention spans are this big.
Right.
So if I'm talking with someone and they just fell off the map, I might be like, huh. But for a second, I'll be like, I can't take it personal.
No.
And I can let it go. Someone cuts you off in traffic. You're like, oh, that motherfucker. You're taking it personally. Now.
Yeah.
You're now taking it personally. Don't take it personally. That person maybe has to take a shit, man.
Right. Right.
Of all people, trust me, I would know.
Right. Right. Or they're on the way to like chemotherapy or something.
Anything. Yeah. So not taking things personally. And I mean nothing. Like someone's upset. Last night I had a little gathering with some friends who were safe. No, everyone's doing their part, so no COVID.
Sure.
But had music a little loud. We were having fun. The neighbors got a little upset about the music.
Sure.
I responded in such a nice, positive way. And I didn't take it personally that they were so mad. And I was trying not to be angry with them because they shouldn't have thought that my music was loud or whatever.
How dare they?
How dare they?
Yeah.
Music's not loud.
Yeah, no. That's
I just accepted it for, okay, that they're up. I'm not taking it personally. They're obviously upset about it.
Right.
Let me just help them out.
Sure.
I don't know if that was the greatest example, but
no, it's a good example because, people, if they're upset at something, they feel triggered at something that you do. Therefore, you kind of trigger this thing that's inside of them, and then they try to kind of spew that back at you because they're almost like projecting this negativity. I mean, yeah, sure, maybe your neighbors playing music in all hours of the night, they might get upset. I would probably be upset. Most people would
too, and I'm glad they told me. That's like the thing is when you show up to someone in that situation, that's like they're taking it personally. My neighbor showed up personally offended that I had the music on.
Right.
But did she I wasn't aware that she could hear it.
Right.
So now she's making an assumption that I knew she could hear it, and that's why she showed up angry.
She took it personal.
She took it
She's
personally.
like, this fucking kid is just trying to frustrate me
Right.
late at night.
Doesn't he know his music's loud?
Right.
No,
Right,
I
right,
didn't.
Right.
I didn't,
Right.
actually. And now you tell me I'm apologizing.
Yeah,
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
I'll turn it down. It's all
Yeah,
good.
I didn't know. You can't make assumptions either.
Yeah.
We're pulling up all good things from that book because they're so good.
Yeah.
We wish we were getting kickbacks, not actually for that book, because man, I bought it for a bunch of people.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great, dude. But I like what you started to say. You said you can watch something and it'll affect you, but think of your diet. If you eat some crappy food, you're gonna feel
You're gonna get the
crappy.
shits.
You're gonna get the shits. You're gonna feel crappy. You might get a headache. Your diet doesn't just consist of what you put in your mouth. It's the TV you watch, it's the music you listen to, and it's the books that you read, if you even read.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully you read out there.
Mm-hmm.
All of those things are going to flavor your subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
You know, reading's an interesting one because I try to read like personal development, self-help books, but like there's other people I know who they only want to read murder mystery books. I'm curious, or watch murder mystery TV. I'm curious to kind of how that flavors your life. I feel like,
Well, then you're always worried. Those are
Exactly.
always the people to say, well, there's crazy people out there.
you're always paranoid.
Well, yeah, there might be, but like out of all the people that are out there, was the percentage of those crazies?
Right.
It's pretty slim, but because they're so crazy, of course they're highlighted in a book
Sure.
or a show, and now it's highlighted to make it seem like this is an everyday occurrence.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's not. There's definitely crazy shit going on every day.
Right.
But for the majority, most people are good.
Right. Have you ever seen the Allegory of the Cave illustration?
No, I'm not.
So I'll
triggering.
I'll put a visual up in the video. Basically the Allegory of the Cave is a depiction of, here, let me just pull it up for you so you can see it. I'll chop this part.
You don't gotta do it. Let it roll.
All right, fine.
No. You pull it up.
Okay.
What?
It's basically it's an illustration, and it's very symbolic in there's people in a cave and there's a fire. Let me just pull it up.
This is like some what Plato stuff, right?
Yeah, it's Plato's Allegory of the Cave.
Okay,
And there's a book on it, but basically what it is,
I think I read this a little bit. Look, while you're thinking about that, there was for those that, well, I didn't give a background on myself at all, but I did active military. I just finished in school up this month, and I was really against school, not to go off on a crazy topic. But one of my classes went through that book, and I wouldn't even know that. I didn't recognize because you didn't say Plato because I pay attention this much.
Right.
That's my fault.
Right.
But Plato, now it's all coming back. Like, oh, that's part of Plato. And so you learn something, and it helps. And
there you go, man. Yeah. School ain't all invalid.
Right.
So basically what this is, I'll describe it, and then I'll give it to you. So it's people in a cave, and they're sitting up against a wall, and it's dark in there. And there's a fire, and there's people standing in front of the fire holding up these images, and the fire is casting shadows in front of the people. Here, I'll just show it to you. So basically...
Well, yeah, but this is good for those.
Right.
We're going to show it.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I remember seeing
So basically,
this.
like the shadows being cast by these people in hoods. That's like the media. It's these TV companies, and like that's what they're projecting and what they're trying to show you. For those people who are in the dark just watching it, they're like, "Oh, this is just how the world is. This must be how the world is." And then that kind of flavors, especially the news, man. Like, I hate to keep coming back to it and beating the dead horse, but like it is profound how negatively it affects your subconscious mind. Because like like if you watch the news and the world's on fire and all these people are dying and California's on fire and there's a drought and there's no food and there's riots, like if that's all you're taking in, of course that's going to flavor about how you look at life and how you treat other people and how you go out and act into the world. And that's frightening.
Well, the news, and where are people getting their news? And this goes back to that.
Sure.
Everyone's talking about this documentary right now, The Social Dilemma.
Yeah,
on
you
Netflix.
showed me that. That freaked me out.
But that is the people's news outlets.
Yeah.
And then knowing that you have, so for those that didn't watch this documentary, highly recommend before you pick up your phone again. It should be like a requirement, I think.
Yeah.
So these engineers and developers from Facebook and Pinterest and Twitter, those who no longer work at those companies, put together this documentary of what their insight is from being on the inside.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many people actually realize. See, because I'm aware of it. I kind of assume that everyone's aware of it, but that's making an assumption that I definitely shouldn't. That if you're scrolling through your Facebook feed, that feed is crafted to be for you, to keep you there as long as you want.
Right.
The engineers at these companies most of them come out of Stanford, and they're taking classes on how to psychologically manipulate human behavior.
Yeah.
And now you have a bunch of those guys, and then computer processing power all facing back at you through the screen. And people who say, "Oh, I'm not addicted to my phone," or "Oh, I watch that stuff," but it doesn't. That is back to the subconscious. We're making full circle here.
Yeah.
It's all planting seeds for you and you're falling into this trap of being molded to be in this like silo of only seeing information that you think is relevant and true.
Yes, 100%.
How often do you fact check what you are being shown? How often do you look at the other side of information?
Yeah,
because your
never.
feed is never going to show you the other side, because it knows every time it did that, you left the app.
Mm-hmm.
And if you leave the app, you're not seeing advertisements. And
engaging.
If you're not seeing advertisements, Facebook's not making money.
Yeah.
So
what the fuck?
When people every time when you have that sensation, and I've been more aware of it. I have a slight addiction to the phone. The minute you hear a ding come up, it's like I gotta look.
It's dopamine,
and that's because they programmed the phone to be like casinos.
Yes.
All those lights and ding, 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 ding,
Yeah.
when you pull the thing and nothing really happens. But
Yeah.
you want to do it again because all the lights and sounds happen. And then you
It's
win a
dopamine.
little bit. And all those senses, it's the sound, the visuals, boom. That's why, that's why they made the little bubbles when someone's typing back? Because now you see that you're more likely to stay staring at your screen longer
Mm-hmm.
to wait to get a respond.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for those bubbles, you would have closed your phone and looked away.
Yeah. It's fucking scary, dude. It really is.
Mhm.
And I'm glad you brought this up because it ties into what I did last Monday, which is a dopamine cleanse, where I didn't look at any technology for over 24 hours. Didn't look on my phone, didn't go on my computer, didn't listen to any music. I just gave my brain a break because in the video I watched that explains it, it's like we start to attach, our dopamine receptors are all fucked up and they're attached and associated to things that just give us these little breadcrumbs, like a little IV drip of dopamine. But it's not really from anything. You're just looking at a screen versus real dopamine and real serotonin that comes from actually accomplishing things. And it's almost like that slower release of gratitude, like achieving things. And it's almost like, what's the word? Delayed
gratification.
Thank you. Delayed gratification. That's the real dopamine. That's like what really gets us going. But because we're addicted to things like social media and video games and pornography,
It's immediate gratification.
it's immediate gratification, and it's not
which
good
leads
for
to
you.
anxiety. Why would it lead to anxiety? Because you're sitting there feeling entertained and like you're doing something.
Yeah.
Without, even though you're not. And
Yeah.
then the minute you put it down, you realize you're right in the same spot.
So the whole idea with the dopamine cleanse is like if you just give your brain a break from that constant bombardment of dopamine and all this stimulation, the idea is you can slowly kind of start to reprogram your brain to start, 'cause it's all about association. You can start to associate, air quotes, like harder tasks, things like for me in my business. I find, and I didn't like this, I would find more dopamine in scrolling through TikTok or Instagram than I would sitting and editing videos, things I actually knew I needed to do that were actually pushing the needle forward. So the idea with the dopamine cleanse is if you kind of give your receptors a break, you can start to almost rewire your brain to start attaching more dopamine to these extended gratitude or gratification
Right, because
activities.
right.
Because man, I fucking did that. Like, I'm proud. So that whole day, I noticed my mood. I noticed how I was feeling. I was almost happier, and my quality of life was almost better without the technology because I was fully present in myself. I was fully aware of what was going on and of my thoughts and my emotions, and I was almost the one in control. I was the one in the driver's seat, not my phone, not social media, not these little notifications that were giving me these little dopamine hits and affecting my mood. Or not even dopamine. Sometimes it's stress. You'll see something on your phone that upsets you or stresses you out or causes some kind of anxiety. You see some email from your boss. Oh, can you come in and work today? And it's like, oh, fuck. So if you just take that whole thing out of the equation, the whole thing out of your diet,
Dude, I couldn't agree more.
you are really fully present.
Could not agree more.
It was powerful, man. I suggest everybody try, do a dopamine cleanse, 24 hours. Don't look at your phone. Don't listen to music. Don't do anything like
The
that.
thought that showed up when you were saying that is I think You said that made me realize that's why I enjoy some of the activities I enjoy so much, because none of them involve. I can't be on my phone when I'm on a jet ski.
Right. Or falling out of a plane.
Or falling out. And I love jet skiing. I can't be on my phone when I'm scuba diving. And
Right.
then you're with people in those activities to where they can't be on their phone either.
Yeah.
And you're engaging together and doing something. So I think having activities like that, to where, like, going to the gym definitely can be that for someone, but most people still have to hold their phone somewhere for their music.
Yeah, I definitely do.
Right? So you're still kind of attached to it. You're
Yeah.
still getting all the alerts and texts. You're texting in between sets or whatever, So I don't like the gym as a thing of saying, oh, the gym is my time away from my phone, because it's not.
How about this? I just thought of this. When you said all of those things that you just said, where you're not on your phone, jet skiing, skydiving, whatever, it seems like nature is the key.
Mm-hmm.
Doing things out in nature, you almost don't care about your phone. Like, that's why and I've said this on the podcast before, that's why things like camping are so important. Or float tanks are different. That's not really nature, but that's like a totally different thing. Going camping is so powerful because you really just don't give a shit about the technology. You're immersed in nature. You're connected with the earth. Your energies are grounded. You're smelling all these smells, and you're out and you're building fires, and you're bonding with the people you're with, and it's almost like you just don't even really think twice about wanting to be on your phone, because there's all this other stuff that you can do that gives you these feel-good chemicals, serotonin and dopamine, and I think that's the key, is nature, because if you look at humans, that's where we evolved from. We didn't evolve as humans in the artificial cave with these artificial lights and these artificial screens and shit, looking at it like we were in nature, connected with the earth and the plants and the animals, and that's why doing things in those realms are so important, because it brings you back to baseline almost.
Yeah, I think for those who, not everyone's into those things, and then I would ask the question again as to why.
Right.
When someone's not, and then I would also ask, why is someone into those things?
Mm-hmm.
There's this part of personality that goes along with that, but some people, you take them out camping, they would have anxiety. They would probably get anxiety for a second if they had no service.
Yeah,
can't check. They don't know, right?
Oh my God.
And
God forbid.
Is it time that's needed to get over that? Do you eventually come over the hump? Is it like a fear thing? I don't know. These are questions that I would ask.
Right.
And as you're sitting here thinking, then, because I think about, well, why do I like the things that I like? When's the last time you asked yourself that? That's a good question for anyone. Why do I like the color blue?
Mm.
And that will send you down a deep hole.
Definitely.
When you really start to, okay, well, that's just a thought that maybe I had once, that I said, I'm going to like the color blue. I could do that with any other color.
Right.
So couldn't you do that with other activities?
Yeah, totally.
I don't know. I'm talking out my ass.
Yeah, we're just trying to figure this out. We're just talking. Obviously we're not scientists.
I don't know shit.
Right, but yeah, it's interesting, man. That's why, like, next week I'm driving to Colorado cross country. I'm really looking forward to that, because I'm really looking forward to driving there is just kind of one thing, but once I get there, I'm very much looking forward to not really being on my phone, because again, there's places where there's no service. If there's no service, why would I be on my phone? Can't connect to Apple Music, can't see what's up on Instagram, can't Snapchat people. I'm really looking forward to that, because it is a reset, and I plan on going camping while I'm out there, and just, it's like very primal.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something about those kind of primal activities that it's almost like it's good for the soul. It's like giving your body like a vitamin or something that it needed. Like, you're sitting out.
Oh yeah, you're being outside, you're getting more sun, you're doing, breathing fresh air.
Yeah. It's good doing something to your body, and it's doing something.
How could it
to
be
your
bad?
brain. Right.
Unless you don't wear sunscreen and it's really, you're at the beach.
Right.
And it's bad.
Yeah. But it's definitely an interesting thing, man. Especially the subconscious. That's something that I keep coming back to.
So to your nature point and being outside, what's that doing to your subconscious? Because that's all information you're bringing in.
Yeah.
Right. And is that clearing out and pushing? I don't know how the layers of this. People definitely have way more research on this. But like, if we're to sit in a basement and read news all day, and then we walk away from that for 24 hours and we go outside, how long is it that information is still with us?
Sure.
Closer.
Yeah.
Whereas then we did that, and now we're away from it for a week.
Mm-hmm.
It's further away, right?
Yeah.
Because experience is built up on top of it.
Sure.
But that's what I'm getting at, is that time outside in your subconscious. Then when you come back to reality, you have like this buffer of, oh, I was out in nature in this time, so my backlog is actually pretty clear. Are you following?
Yeah. It's like a reset almost.
I don't know.
I mean, if you're going to get anything out of this bro science conversation we're having, it's in this segment, it's nature is really important, and you need to do things that get you outside, away from technology, to just reconnect not only with like the earth and the planet and the nature, but yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because when that's what I learned, and that's the value I got out of my dopamine cleanse, is not being on technology. I couldn't not reconnect with myself and check in with myself. How am I feeling, man? Like what's going on?
That's what I mean. Why do you like that? Why did you put those shoes on today?
Right.
You can start to ask yourself those questions.
Yeah.
And start to realize different things.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Question everything.
Yeah.
Your reality.
That's what this whole conversation is. We're just paying attention to thoughts.
Yeah.
And what do we notice? I notice that I feel this when I do this.
Mm-hmm.
Why? My sister is the best why asker of all time. She'll kick you in the nuts with the why.
Yeah. Yeah.
She will, man.
Or you'll say something and she's like, you know what? It's not this. It just is.
It just
and you're
is.
like, fuck, you're so right.
Yeah. She gets
Shout
me
out
all
to
the
Riley.
time. I love that. Love her. Love her. Yeah. She gets me with that a lot. She's really good at that. And it's good to have people around like that. When you're, you know, I don't think it happens so much, but on days that I'm down, I can call my sister and say, these are my thoughts. And she'll ask why in a way at a particular point of me saying something that derails the whole thing and brings me back and go, oh, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a, I'm not sure exactly what it's called, but the idea of it is like, if you want to get to the root to something, it's almost like ask yourself why. I think it's like 7 times. I want to do, I want to move to this new state. Why? And then you answer it. Okay, why? Answer that. Why? And the idea is like consistently asking yourself why and giving yourself the answer. You can finally boil down to like the true, real reason and essence of that thought.
Doing that, sometimes people stop, and because I've done that, right? In a deep meditation, let's say, or just a thought flow.
Sure.
If you actually do that, you sometimes get to an answer you don't like. Or you're not
Totally.
or you're not willing to accept.
Totally, because sometimes we do things for the wrong reasons.
And that process makes you not like asking why and just accepting.
Right.
But
That could be dangerous.
It can be dangerous because then you don't really know who you are.
Yeah.
Because you're not accepting the reality as to why you're doing or liking or not liking something. Why do I not like it when for people who get jealous? Why do I not like it when they have a bigger house than me? Why am I jealous?
Yeah.
Am I jealous? I'm not jealous.
Maybe you are.
But maybe you are, bro. You know?
Yeah.
Just in general with anything. And when you get asked down why, oh, well, maybe you have insecurities and anxiety. You're jealous because you know that if you applied yourself in one area more, maybe you could have had that thing. And now you're not accepting the fact that you don't have what you want because you're not doing it.
Yeah, man. That's a sad reality that a lot of people face. And I think the way to
I know that there's some times in that, not when I notice, not jealousy, but, you feel a little, or like, if I come out of, like, this, like I said, I'm not perfect, but, if I'm not being present and I find myself down thing of like, oh, I want more. I feel like I always want more.
Yeah.
Well, why? And if I don't have it now, why do I not have it now? And then being able to accept that sometimes can motivate you or demotivate you.
I think it might depend on the person and your current
state
of mind and your mindset towards things.
Yeah.
Because like when you were saying the whole jealousy thing and why isn't my house that big? Like if you're in a certain mindset, and again, that's why meditation and things like psychedelics are so important, because they're very empowering. But if you're walking around with this mindset of jealousy and trying to compare yourself and he's better than me and this and that, that's a loser mentality.
It is a loser mentality.
But a lot of people have that, unfortunately. So like it's almost like how do you switch that around?
Well,
I don't know.
You have to accept or realize that just because they have and you don't doesn't mean that you can't.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, but people don't know that.
But there's not limited anything to go around. I mean, to some extent, sure, but like if you don't, just because someone else has, doesn't mean you can't.
Yes.
They didn't take from you,
Right.
and I think that's where people get lost.
It's all a perspective shift. If you all of a sudden shift. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I was just gonna say that. Why can't you be happy for them?
Right. Well, because maybe you think that there's not enough to go around. If he's getting, that means I can't. Mm-hmm. That's bullshit. Mm-hmm. Your thoughts create your reality. Mm-hmm. So if you walk around thinking that we live in a finite universe where there's only so much resource, that's the exact reality you're going to face, my friend. Mm-hmm. But if you understand that dude's driving a Ferrari, I want a Ferrari. I can have a Ferrari. It's going to take work. It's going to take time. But I know I can create that.
But then you have to ask the question is, why do you want the Ferrari?
Well, that's just an example.
I know.
For sure.
I'm not saying, but like,
for sure.
When you identify something like that, go back to, well, why do you want that?
Right.
Maybe you have to accept the fact that you need it for your ego.
Sure.
And then sometimes it can make you go, well, maybe I don't need that.
All right, well, now let's dive down here because I want to get vulnerable because I would love to have a Ferrari someday.
Mm-hmm. So why do you want it?
I don't want it to impress anybody. I don't want it to show people I'm better. You know me, dude. I love art and creativity and design, and I think that something like a Ferrari is like it's the perfect combination of engineering, art, and design. And I just think that because I collect art, I have little knickknacks all over the place, so I look at it in terms of like just adding to the collection of things. But then it's like, but why? And that's what I'm trying to figure out here in this moment.
Why do you? Because those things.
Because it looks cool. I don't know.
But do you? Maybe you attach a piece of your identity to these objects.
Potentially.
But those objects, who would you be without any of that? You are still you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But when I do that even when people attach themselves to their body. Because a real good meditation, you forget that you have a body.
100%.
Because you attach yourself. In case I just did this with my buddy the other day. So I'm going to come full circle to yours.
Sure.
Thing.
Okay.
My one friend who was going through that craziness
negative
and
spiral.
Lost, yeah. And I asked him the question, well, who are you?
Yeah.
I said, if I chopped your arm off, are you still you? He said, yep. If I chopped your other arm off, you still you? Yeah. Okay. Well, if I let's say you don't die,
sure, and
I could chop your head off, are you still you?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So where are you?
Mm.
If you lose an eyeball, are you still you?
Mm-hmm.
You go all the way down to that like your consciousness.
Yes.
And so if you lose everything, are you still you? If you go blind tomorrow, you can't hear anymore, you can't see, you can't smell, you can't taste, you're still able to think.
Mm-hmm.
So are you still you? I just removed everything. You're not attached to anything anymore because you can't experience anything. I don't know. That's like a weird way to when you think of like, oh, I am this thing because I wore this clothing as a piece of me. But it's not.
Yeah.
You get down to like the root, and then you realize that I don't need. Sam Harris, I think, talks about this of like not needing to, not attaching yourself to objects.
Right.
Doesn't mean we can't appreciate them and have them.
Right. I think for me, it's more of like an appreciation for them as like, oh, somebody, like I'm looking at this stormtrooper figure behind you, like somebody thought of that. And they took the necessary steps to like almost bring that thought into a reality. Maybe that's why I would appreciate a Ferrari in that regard, because this amazing supercar, somebody had to think about that, and they had to take all these steps that were very difficult and trial and error over and over again, failure, this and that, and voila, here it is, $250,000, boom. But like, it's almost like my appreciation for the thought that person had originally, And because I have thoughts all the time, creative thoughts all the time. I'm sure you do, and everybody listening and watching does. But we don't act on all the thoughts we have. So it's almost like, wow, this person had this idea and they follow through all the way to where I can actually have one. And then I think that's kind of why I appreciate it like that, because me being a creative and who wants to create things that I visualize in my mind's eye and bring them into this world, I want to do that all the time. And sometimes I let things get in the way of that. But something like a Ferrari or a Buddha head or these microphones, whatever, somebody thought about it and they did everything they could to actually bring it into this reality. And I very much appreciate and admire that.
It's neat. And at the end of the day, why are we living? We're living for experience.
Yeah. Yep.
So if whatever you want to experience, you should.
Yeah, 100%.
And having something is an experience. Touching it, feeling it,
Smelling
seeing it, hearing it. Yeah, hopefully smelling it.
Yeah, smelling that new car smell.
Yeah. Fun. That's where I'm at in my life and living. You know, it's been an interesting 28 years already, but I can't wait for the next 28 and more. And I just to do experience, so I can't get caught up in doing the same thing every day. Because are you experiencing life?
Are you experiencing it or are you just existing?
Yeah,
I think that's really powerful. I think we should end on that.
I love it.
Hell yeah. Ryan, love you, bro.
Love you, bro.
Thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Peace.